Welcome back to the Stat 201 Beyond the Lecture video series. This is going to be lesson 2.3, which is all about describing two categorical variables. The big vocabulary I'm going to talk about in this video is a contingency table, which can describe two or more categorical variables at the same time. We're also going to talk about side-by-side bar graphs and side-by-side pie charts. So the question why this matters? Well, in research, we are always trying to tell some kind of a story. So what we want to do in this video is to be able to find a pattern, if it exists, across multiple categories. And so that's going to be the important part of this video, as we'll see in some of our examples later on. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into our example. There is no question on this part of the video, so you don't have to pause quite yet. So the McCutcheon House is a restaurant operated by students in the School of Hospitality and Tourism Management at the University of South Carolina. Guests are invited to complete a short survey at the end of their meal. Two of the survey questions were: 1, rate the overall experience as excellent, very good, good, fair, or poor. This is the same question we had in the last video. The other thing is we're going to ask, would you recommend the McCutcheon House restaurant? And just like in the last video, we have 32 guests. That represents our sample who responded to the survey. The thing that we have at the bottom is called a contingency table. It shows both of our variables together and how they interact. So for example, if you pay close attention, in the rows we have would you recommend, so that was either yes or no. And in the columns we have how they rated their experience, so excellent, very good, good, fair, or poor. In the body of the table we have all of those numbers which represent how the two variables interact with each other. So for example, we have 14 people who rated their overall experience as being excellent, and they also said yes, they would recommend the McCutcheon House restaurant. On the other side, we have 2 people who said that their overall experience was very good and that no, they would not recommend the McCutcheon House restaurant. Finally, down there on the bottom, we have a total row, and on the side, we have a total column. Those two things are called the marginal distribution. And if you notice, especially the one on the bottom row, that total row, those numbers, the 15 for excellent, 9 for very good, 4 for good, and 3 for fair, 1 for poor, those are the same exact numbers we had in the last video. That was our frequency table for how they rated their experience. So that's why it's called a marginal distribution, is it's in the margins of the contingency table. So I'm going to go ahead and show the side-by-side bar charts now. This first one actually goes with the first set of pie charts on the next slide, and then the second one goes with the second set of side-by-side pie charts on the following slide. It is important to note here that we have experience by recommendation. So our experience goes down here on the bottom x-axis. So you'll notice that excellent is the first set of columns, and it's split up into would the person recommend the McCutcheon House restaurant. The other side-by-side bar chart is reversed. So notice both of these are actually about the same contingency table, so they contain the same data, but they look very different because this one does recommend on the bottom x-axis, and it says yes, they would recommend, and splits that into how they overall rated the McCutcheon House experience. And so it kind of helps shape the story that you want to tell, is how you would represent these variables. So again, this one matches up with the first bar chart because it's experience by recommendation, and if you notice it says recommend yes. So this first pie chart is all about the people who would recommend the McCutcheon House restaurant, where the second pie chart is all about no, they would not recommend the McCutcheon House restaurant. I want to point out here that we need one pie chart for each of the categories in would they recommend. And so as you can imagine, that's going to get a little scary on the next slide when we have 5 categories for how they rated their overall experience. So in this case, the first pie chart in the top left is they rated their experience as excellent. Then we have very good in the middle, and they rated their experience as good in the top right, then fair, and then poor. So as you can imagine, this gets messier and messier the more categories that we have, but this one shows a really good story because as you notice, the blue section, if I go along that top row and then down into the bottom row, gets bigger. So the lower they rated their overall experience, the more likely they were to say, no, I don't recommend the McCutcheon House restaurant. And so I'm going to go ahead and jump into the actual question. So now's a good time to pause the video and try the problems on your own. So this is like an exam problem where I would say, hey, give me an observation about this data, and I'm going to rate how your observation is on a scale of satisfactory to unsatisfactory. Satisfactory in this case is that it was accurate and includes both variables. Needs improvement is that it is accurate and only talks about one variable. In fact, that I don't need a contingency table for it. And unsatisfactory is that it's either inaccurate or misleading. So the first one says, guests who rated their experience as either fair or poor rarely recommend the restaurant. So let's kind of highlight this stuff in the picture. So we're talking about they rated it fair or poor. So there are a total of 4 people who rated it as either fair or poor. And then we want to look at whether they, yes, would recommend the restaurant. And in this case, there was only 1 person in the fair group and 0 people in the poor group who would recommend the restaurant. So it's 1 person out of 4 people total that fall into this category. And so I think that's about 25%. So I'm going to say that this is satisfactory because we have a true statement that only 1 person out of 4 who said that their overall experience was fair or poor actually recommended the restaurant, and it's about both variables that, yes, they would recommend and how they rated their overall experience. For the next one, guess who rated their overall experience as excellent? All recommend the restaurant. So let's look at this one. We're looking at just the fact that they rated it as excellent. There were a total of 15 people who said that the overall experience was excellent, and then 14 of them said yes, they would recommend. So in this case, this is not all. So this is a false statement. So we will say that this is unsatisfactory. In the next one, we have more guests rated their experience as very good than good. Now I want to point out in this one, it doesn't say anything about whether they recommend the restaurant or not. So I'm going to focus here on very good. There were 9 people that said it was very good. Only 4 people said good. So that is a true statement that more guests rated it as very good than good, but it's only about 1 variable. So it doesn't say anything about whether they recommend or not. And so this is going to be needs improvement because it didn't mention anything about how the 2 variables interact with each other. And then the last one, we have among guests who said that they would recommend the restaurant, most rated their, so we are recommending the restaurant, most rated their experience as excellent or very good. So let's start off with who actually said that they would recommend the restaurant. Well, there were 24 people total. And then I'm going to look at how they rated it. So in this case, not fair. They rated it as excellent. There were 14 people who said excellent out of that 24. And then 7 more who said that their overall experience was very good. So 14 plus 7 makes 21. So that's 21 out of 24 people. And so 21 out of 24 is most people. So I am going to say that that is a satisfactory statement because it does, again, say something about both variables. Yes, they recommend and how they rated their experience. And then it's also giving me something that's a true statement. So let's just recap very briefly. If I wanted to make a summary table about 2 categorical variables, I'm going to make a contingency table. And if I'm going to make pictures, I really do like bar charts. So we'll do side-by-side bar charts where I can have everything in one picture. Although side-by-side pie charts are useful and can help show the pattern, it's just I need more of them. The big pitfall, again, is to make sure you look for the interaction between those 2 variables and not just talk about one variable. All right, see y'all in the next one.